the mothers of all mothers. The early passion project that started Frank Zappa on the path to becoming the icon that he is today. This is the story of the Mothers of Invention and Freak Out. In 1966, the Mothers of Invention, led by Frank Zappa, were signed to Verve Records and were playing every night live in the clubs of LA. Right from the beginning, Frank had a heavy resentment and disdain for the counterculture and the hippie movement. He called it out for what it was, another trend for those who lacked true originality to follow. And although Frank Zappa was a little bit of a hypocrite in a lot of ways when it came to his judgment of the hippies, he was mainly just unimpressed with the direction that his generation had taken in this supposed new era of awakening. And this was very much the vibe of the band and the music. It did not fit into what everyone else was doing at the time. The approach that Frank Zappa took to writing songs came from his interest in classical arrangements and early jazz composers. He liked technology a lot and would always use whatever was available to him. Most of all, the message of the music may have been more abstract, but what was clear was that it was not for the normal flower power, peace and love crowd. They started using the word freak, which was sort of a derogatory term used to bully anyone who existed outside the accepted societal norms. They were different from the hippies, real nonconformists, authentic artists who also happened to be top-tier musicians. Frank always said he had to demand absolute perfection from the band to avoid creating a sloppy product. The Mothers were always on point, always exactly right, and their live shows became a thing of legend early on. Frank Zappa was 25 years old, and the reputation that he and the band had gained from playing in the clubs earned him the ability to demand total creative control when it came to the creation of their record. Instead of making a simple rock album, he wanted to make a conceptual collage of ideas, presented through sounds, something that would capture the social absurdity of American culture with music. The famous and brilliant Tom Wilson, who had worked with Bob Dylan and the Velvet Underground, was brought in as producer. But Frank was truly the one in control. He treated it like an orchestra, layering instruments. He also brought in a small army of session musicians and friends from the underground LA art scene to contribute. When Freak Out was released in June 1966, it was way too weird for mainstream radio. But fellow musicians and critics were fascinated by what this Zappa character was doing here. The album became an underground classic, praised by folks like Paul McCartney and Jimi Hendrix. The album was really an example of what that band was capable of if they had the right guidance. And thanks to the ambition and the pure confidence of Frank Zappa, they managed to create one of the most revolutionary debut albums in the history of rock and roll.